Hello everyone and welcome back to Sendix Weather Channel, where today we'll be looking at the latest on the December prospects, which you may see in a couple of weeks' time. Who knows? It's looking very interesting. But firstly, I want to start off by looking at the snow that we've had recently along the east coast, parts of the northeast, and into parts of Scotland as well. There's been some very, very high totals of snowfall that we've seen. So I've just brought this up. This is showing falling snow, not necessarily accumulating snow. But if you look over the northeast, there was that amber warning, which was around here. It was sort of like the zone which has been drawn out pretty much. And this indicates upwards of 20 centimetres have fallen out of the sky. Again, not accumulated, but have fallen out of the sky. So you can see extending as far east as the east coast, really. As far as Scarborough, so a picture of that. Here you go. Look at this. This is a lovely photo. Look, it was quite cold and even got some accumulations, slight accumulations on the seafront as well. Pretty lovely photo that of the North Bay. You can just see like the castle in the background. You can see all the road and stuff. And this one was taken by James098. A lot of you will know him. He went out this morning and took this photo, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, he lives in the Highlands, deep in the Highlands, and they had upwards of 20 centimetres of snow up there. So pretty bad. And I know he told me in a message that he's fed up of it. So, yeah, luckily for you, James, it's going now, finally. But if you do have a look, by the way, at the map, you can see small accumulations have occurred across like Durham, the northeast, parts of East Yorkshire, into parts of like Filey. I saw Filey had some as well. Plenty of snow showers, even York saw recovering this morning, so plenty. Then if you look over the Highlands, parts of like the Cairngorms, big accumulations like Aberdeen saw upwards of 20 to 25 centimetres in places, especially along your elevated areas, but not just that as well. Expecting some harsh frosts as well, where you have lying snow, so maybe dropping towards the single figures. Well, actually, lows below freezing single figures, maybe into double digits over your highest routes, maybe where you've got lying snow and where it freezes overnight. Could be quite treacherous conditions in the morning, which is why there are ice warnings. But then, moving on then into the main brunt of the right then, so let's look at some stratospheric data. This is the latest GFS 6 a.m. run today. And as you can see, the big blues are the polar vortex at its roots. This is 31 kilometres above the atmosphere in a place called the Stratosphere at 10 HPA. So we've got the stratosphere, troposphere, and the atmosphere. And obviously, if you get some impacts occurring at the stratosphere, it can trickle down to the troposphere, and we get a response to that. Usually the lag time's a few weeks. If you're wanting a sudden stratospheric warming or an SSW, and I'll explain all that to you now. So, as you can see, there is a minor warming gathering pace over Siberia over the next few days, by around the 27th. That's going to move towards the polar vortex and try and displace it away from the North Pole. As you can see, there's the polar vortex at its roots being displaced over parts of Europe. Obviously, in the stratosphere, just don't see a massive cold air mass of minus 80 moving across parts of Europe. No, this is well up in the stratosphere, which is a completely different level. But you can see a warming gathering pace over Siberia, penetrating towards the polar vortex at its roots, and as we go through, you can see continual warming is maintained and is having a go at really weakening the polar vortex, and is doing successfully. As you can see, at the coldest core of the polar vortex is not as cold as it was a couple of weeks ago with this GFS run. At the very extended range, we've still got some warming over Siberia. We've also got the polar vortex roots being displaced or trying to be displaced over Greenland, parts of Siberia and the Scandinavian regions, and this warming trying to penetrate towards the North Pole. So a very messy chart and quite an uncertain one as well. Looking at the ECM, this has been a very pivotal point, really. This is yesterday's run from Wednesday. I'm sure the Thursday one will be out in a few hours, but as you can see, this has changed a lot, this. If you look now, this is where we are currently. So we are below the average of the polar vortex strength, which is here, this red line, so we're well below that. But as you can see, going between the 24th and around the 1st of December, you can see a big drop towards the zero line. Now, the zero line is a reversal of zonal winds and a technical sudden stratospheric warming. Now, here you can see the dropping down to around 2 or 3 metres per second, picking up slightly and then dropping potentially towards SSW levels. Now, a lot of people have been saying, oh, it's reverted, if we look a few days ago, Can see, I don't know, if I go to Sunday or something, can see we're looking at a sudden stratospheric warming, but now it's being pushed back. Now, what I will say about that is you've got to consider the time of year. If it's around the 24th of November, a disruption, if we are slowing down the zonal winds to a pretty low point, such as 3 meters per second, 2 meters per second, there's less energy in the jet stream at this time of year anyway. So obviously it's peaks in January. So if we've got a disruption to that, courtesy of the zonal winds being reduced down towards 2 or 1 or almost reverse, then you would expect low pressure systems to continually be less active in the North Atlantic potentially. You don't need the sort of stratospheric warming levels that you do in, let's say, January or February, when you would need a proper stratospheric warming. We are only in November, and you can still see some pretty big impacts into December. It means nothing that it's not a reversal. There's not much difference between 2 meters per second zonal winds and -2 in this case. Oh, that's my opinion anyway. Let me know what you think down below. But yeah, you can see it eventually gets down to the reversal levels. It's not really being pushed back. It's just it looks longer to be weaker, basically. It looks weaker for longer than was originally anticipated. And that could have some impacts down the line, My lag time for a tropospheric response is between 2 and 4 weeks, so we won't expect anything until at least probably the second week of December, and things are looking good. You don't just have to look at that either, and I'll bring up something else finally to show you. And finally, for today's video, if we have a look at the CFS V2 forecast for the Niño anomalies, you can see that at the moment we are in a negative phase. So that indicates La Nina conditions are continuing. Obviously, we're in November now, and as we progress, you can see the zonal winds, the signal of the ENSO signal returning back to neutral or towards positive is favoured from January onwards. Now, one thing you have to consider is La Nina usually favours a front-loaded winter, so we'd expect impacts through December, maybe into the early part of January. Now, as you can see here, we are negative with the ENSO signal, maybe returning towards neutral towards December, late December into early January. And you can see then after that, though, it does return towards maybe an El Nino next season. So we'll have to see on that one. But yeah, basically it's looking pretty good. La Nina, maybe a weak La Nina or like a neutral, maybe leaning towards. And usually those winters are actually quite good at the start. Usually have pretty cold December, so maybe that's something else to look out for. Sea surface temperatures are also looking pretty good. Unfortunately, I can't get the charts up because they are not loading today. But we've got a tripole sort of signal. We've got the warming towards the southern side of Greenland. We've got like the cooler sector along the eastern Pacific, and then we've got the warmer sector just below that. We've got a warm, cool, warm. But what I would say is that the cooler sector needs to get much colder. The sea surface temperature needs to get much colder for it to be considered a tripole, in my opinion. But yeah, we're looking interesting. Maybe the signs are weighing towards cold December. Obviously, you know what I thought in my December forecast. Go watch that if you haven't already. Thank you all very much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I do appreciate your continued support, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.